My name is Gary Miner. I'm the Director of College Relations at Goodwin here, and may I be the first of many to thank you for being here this morning. Thank you especially to the members of the media that find your time in a busy day to be here. And I hope that you find our announcement on our manufacturing initiative here as exciting as we like it. We have a great array of speakers this morning. We're very pleased to have Governor Malloy, Congressman Larson, Mark Scheinberg, the Goodwin President, Elliot Ginsberg from CCAT, Rich Mahowski from the IAM, and Dr. Cliff Thurmer here at UConn. Goodwin, who is... he graduated from UConn, that's why. Sorry, Mr. President. We have some other dignitaries in the audience I'd like to recognize. I didn't see her, but I hope she's here. She will be shortly. Mayor Marcia McClurk from East Hartford. Senator Gary LeBeau is here. Senator. And State Representative Jason Rojas, if I got that. Jason's around. I'd also like, and I'm not sure I've seen them yet either, we've had early supporters on this manufacturing program. We obviously didn't do this by ourselves, but from United Technologies, early supporters were Rick Waters and Terry Nolan in the back of the room. Thanks, Rick. Working with them, we were able to make sure that the education and manufacturing we're offering here was eligible for the UTC Employee Scholar Program, which I think you know is pretty important and pretty generous. A couple other local IAM folks that have been helpful and to our effort and very critical. John Harity, Everett Corey, and Mike Stone. They're all here. Thank you. As in most cases, when we take on a new initiative at Goodwin, we look for the experts, and this manufacturing effort is no exception in that we reached out to several folks to form an advisory board, kind of our customer. What are they looking for in this next generation manufacturing student employee? And a few of them are here today, and I'd like to recognize them from CMP Machine, Charlie Agrita, Susan Alberto, and Gary Mazzaro. From Mott Metallurgical is Suzanne Spargo. Thank you. I haven't seen Michael or Paul Polo from AdChem, but they were early supporters. From Alpha Q in Colchester, it's Rich Hurley, Tim Duggan, Lisa Saunders, and a young woman, also Danielle Moorcroft. She's not only an employee there, but she's one of our new students of the manufacturing class that just started a few Wednesdays ago. From the CBIA, Judy Resnick has been a big supporter from the beginning. Also, as we attempt to launch this program, we want to be sure we collaborate with the right people in the state. We think it's complementary to the initiatives that are going on currently. And accordingly, with us this morning, too, is Karen Wazina Birch, Connecticut University and College System. She's the director of the College of Technology. The other friends that we have took a long trip this morning from Electric Boat, Gene Harper and Bob Hamilton. Thank you for taking the time to do that this morning. Just a few more seconds of me and I'll turn it over to important people. But what we're going to announce this morning is our effort to help find a solution to what we all know is going to be a shortage of skilled workers in the future in Connecticut. And accordingly, the things you'll hear about this morning is this business partnership we have with our advisory board. It's more than just a machining program. What we heard from the people out in the workforce, the ones that run the manufacturing, is they want a complete employee, not one that you can just run manufacturing machining, which is a talent in itself, but also one that's a little bit broader look. When they are running machine, they look around, they know about lean manufacturing, supply chain, logistics, health and safety, and the environment as well. So what we're trying to do is produce a student from this program that is hireable, ready to go to work, and maybe knows a little bit more than the typical entry-level person. You'll also hear about credentials. Distinguishes ourselves a little bit. We think that the employee base in Connecticut, the people that work with their hands, the smart folks that do these things, should also be able to entitle to credentials, meaning they can take this along with any other degrees they have, and they're immediately recognized by a national standard. That's good for the employee, that's good for the employer, and if I might say, I think it's a neat attribute for the state to have, where in the ability to attract new business, retain old business. If you can market your workforce as credentialed, I think it's pretty important and hopefully puts Connecticut in a very competitive position. And finally, you'll hear something about, which I think is kind of neat, about the manufacturer of the future. We have Connecticut River Academy here, a magnet school on site, and you'll hear about the role that organization and those students are going to play in this manufacturing program as they participate in it a little bit later on this year. Enough about me. I'd like to introduce the president of Goodwin College for a formal welcome, and also to introduce Governor Malloy, Mark Scheinberg.
Very warm welcome to a lot of friends and a lot of new friends. We so appreciate you taking time in a very busy day to come out and join us this morning. Goodwin College is sort of a different sort of entity, a hybrid, if you will. It's 100% a college, a school of higher education. At the same time, it's 100% of the community and 100% based upon the needs of our employers within the state of Connecticut. So I believe that for a very long time, your choice was to either get some kind of job training skills or go to college. And so parents had a very difficult choice to make. I think bringing a college into a program like this actually creates a social permission that parents can tell parents of other kids, my kid's going to college and going into manufacturing. It doesn't have to be a fork in the road, and this just sort of proves that. What's also interesting about this is it breaks the mold of what happens in Connecticut a lot of the time. Connecticut is a very mannered state. We try to do things in our own box. We don't want to step on toes. We're very proper. And in the process, we tend not to break molds. We tend to say, well, I'd like to do that, but I think that's the state's job. That's the teacher's job. That's the parent's job. That's someone. And so we don't actually get in and get our hands dirty very often. What's really sweet about this is that you have a situation where there are 22,000 jobs that are unfilled that will give people not only a living wage, but a very good living wage in a very high-tech environment that will spill off, they're telling us, 2 or 3 jobs for each one of those people that get these jobs. That if we did all of that, makes the governor's job a whole lot easier about making a budget work within the state of Connecticut. And it's all there right in front of us. And there's so much of it that we can all get our hands dirty and not really scratch the surface as much as we need to. It requires everybody. It's all of our work. It's all of our work today. And so what's really nice about this is that this is a place where if we can't collaborate on something that's so obvious, then shame on us. But that's what we're doing right here. There are people from all sides that are putting in what they can to make this sort of program work. And it's the first step of what we believe is going to be a number of steps in this field that we're going to be able to work on together. It's my great pleasure, I have to say, in all this, that we are working in a state that has a leader. One thing about our governor is that you may not agree with everything he says, but you know what he's saying. And it's very, very clear what he's trying to do, and he's willing to take risks to do it. All this collaboration entails some risk. But unless you're willing to take risks and do things a little bit differently, chances are we're going to get into a state of inertia and nothing works out exactly well. And so I have to tell you that from an observer's point of view, the best way to become really popular in politics is really to do very little, because then no one can ever get mad at you. We have a governor that does quite a lot and takes great credit, but also takes great risks. And so we're so pleased that in that role, he is similar in many ways until how you might bring up an adult child, where you can no longer say this is how it's going to go down because you don't really control that anymore. But you make sort of fine touches to make sure people try to stay on the right kind of path so that people are working in the same direction, that you can actually create your power to convene people and make things happen in a very special way. For what we're doing here today, we have great friends, and among the greatest of them is our own Governor Malloy. Please come on up.
I can assure you no one's accused me of being very popular, so It's great to be with you. I wanted to be here. I think that this is an important combination of events, culmination of hard work that I certainly wanted to participate in the celebration of and the announcement of. I want to focus for a moment on what Connecticut is. It's a state that for 300 years has led the nation in manufacturing. What we have most recently come to symbolize is high value added precision manufacturing. It is true that if you're going to buy a sub, you're probably going to buy it in Connecticut, or at least a substantial portion of the total output. If you're going to buy a jet engine, it's almost certainly going to have precision parts that were manufactured in Connecticut if the whole engine was not also assembled in Connecticut. We have 179 companies in Connecticut that are primarily working in aerospace. We have a total of in excess of 300 companies that are doing some amount of work in aerospace. And we know that in many ways, for instance, and I'll just drill down on aerospace for a minute, that we're at the infancy, in many ways, of the worldwide aerospace explosion that we're going to see over the next 20 years. For instance, we have about a 2% penetration rate for air travel in China right now. Think about it. Only 2% of the entire population has engaged in air travel. Air travel is coming to China. It's coming to Africa. It's coming in greater numbers to Canada and the United States. What we have to be in a position to do, for instance, in this precision manufacturing industry, is be the leader. And what we have is second highest concentration per capita of aerospace jobs in Connecticut as compared to the other 49 states. What we have to do is make sure that we maintain that position or even improve it. If we do that, then our economy will grow pretty mightily in the years to come. That means making investments in and with the firms that are involved in that industry. But most importantly, and what we're talking about here today, is making sure that we have the workforce for that industry. And this is something that Connecticut has actually let itself down on for a period of time. And that's why the work of Congressman Larson, of Goodwin College, of our community colleges, of the University of Connecticut, that's why this is all so important. The jobs are here. The jobs are coming in greater number. The question is, are we going to be able to fill them with people from Connecticut? And that's what this is about. It's making sure that our private and public universities understand the opportunity which is presenting itself to Connecticut in precision manufacturing. And that we then create the human capital necessary to drive the expansions in these industries in Connecticut. Jobs, by the way, that average $87,000 incomes. That's what we're talking about, as well as great benefits. But $87,000 jobs. That's what we're talking about. And we're talking about an unmet need as we currently sit here, but a need that is going to grow, I predict, over time exponentially, if we're producing the right product to maintain what we currently have and to build on it. So United Technologies and Electric Boat and all of their suppliers continuing to be in Connecticut and growing in Connecticut and making sure that these industries are protected in Connecticut. Goodwin College has stepped forward, and the machinists have stepped forward, the federal government, the state government, we're doing our part as well in making sure that we're in a position to do it. You know, in so many ways, what's happening here builds on some of the successes that we've had in Connecticut and taking the Isnuntuck model at that community college, bringing it to 3 other community colleges, literally overnight. In fact, just recently, the Regents system won a national award for that conversion of those 3 centers. This is a further development, and what's so darn exciting about it is it's a private university's participation in what we know. And in some senses, it's confirmation of what we've been talking about in the state government. And I'm so very, very excited about it, and very, very excited about the relationships that are being built. We get this right, we're going to be okay. And that's why I wanted to be here to celebrate with you. So thank you very much.
Picture's worth 1,000 words, and we put together a video with some of our partners that blew me away, but helped one of those people that are not in the manufacturing field truly appreciate what's going on. It's a short film. We're going to turn it over to the film now, but we'll get it going.
The future belongs to those who can produce a highly skilled workforce that is incredibly flexible, creative, and innovative at the same time, and uses the most efficient means possible to create future manufacturing. What's happening out here at Goodwin College, in the private sector, and even on behalf of labor with the IAM, they were looking for a means to come up with a more credentialed workforce. And so we're able to unite the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, which has the lasers, which has the machinery, with an academic approach that Goodwin College has, very hands-on and adaptable to what manufacturers of today are going to need, and then enlist the support of a major company like United Technology, but specifically Pratt & Whitney, who's very deeply involved in the aerospace business, who works with the IAM on a regular basis, that could stand to gain from the benefits of the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, that can all be brought together to become a credentialed workforce, a workforce for the future, right here at Goodwin College.
The assumption was about 15 years ago that manufacturing was dead in the United States and dead in Connecticut, and all the jobs that were left were going overseas. And so everyone told their kids, that's not a really good field to go into. And suddenly, in a very quiet way, there are 22,000 jobs in manufacturing, a new manufacturing, a high-tech manufacturing in the state of Connecticut. Goodwin College actually is here very clearly to find work for our students. You can't find work for students unless you know what it is the job market is asking for. The entire program has to be based around the needs of our employers.
I went to Goodwin College and met with Mark and the team, and we got into this manufacturing advisory council. I felt it was a different way of doing things. They're a breed above. They definitely listen. They have exit strategies where they're talking to their students about where they're going to work. There's a large exodus going to be in the next 10 years of very qualified people who will be retiring. So we have a big gap to fill.
Goodwin is actually going to be certifying their people, which is very special. And we've invited them to bring any of their people over here that we can give them a walkthrough to show them really what our needs are and what our expectations are. So it's really got to be a partnership between Goodwin College and the supply base to develop these people and the people we need for our future.
The thing that sets Goodwin College apart is that they have come out to industry and they've asked what the requirements are. It's much easier to train to a job or to teach to a job as opposed to create a job after you've been trained. So I think it's vital that the folks like Goodwin College and the educational community find out what jobs are available in their area, in their community, and then train workers accordingly to what's available.
We're extremely excited about the partnership with Goodwin College. Their curriculum and their focus for their education is really right on par for what we're looking for out of our employees. They have taken the time to understand what our needs are as a business and then been able to incorporate that into their curriculum so that when we're looking for skilled workforce that they have that on tap for us.
If you draw a 100-mile radius from where I'm standing right now, there are literally thousands of companies that do precision machining and special processing. It's imperative that we keep that expertise in this radius. It's not our divine destiny to be here. So it's imperative that each and every company work with academia, as we're talking about today, to sustain these skills and grow this industry right here in this region.
The workforce that we're going to look for, they need to be skilled. I mean, you're going to compete with the rest of the world, not just the different states in the US. And the one that's going to win is the one with the best people. The moment is now. The time to strike is now in this industry. We've never seen before uplift in the civil aerospace, and the need to gain that market share and keep it in Connecticut or in the US. And it doesn't matter if it's a GKN company or if it's a Goodwin college, you need to strike when the iron is hot.
We have to make sure that we're enhancing the workforce in a way that they are both academically achieving the goals that are going to be needed to compete in a global economy, but also have the basic skill sets. And I'm not just talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic, but the actual applications that come from trades. And so it's not your trade union of your father's past either. It's how we combine that science, technology, innovation, and the creativity that comes from a human being. That's what's encapsulated here at Goodwin College. That's what this collaboration is all about. Long overdue, and the more kind of relationships that we can forge like this, where we see the private sector, the labor sector, governmental sector, all pulling together, utilizing what's best in each, is what it's all about.
Thank you very much. As you noted so far, the organization called the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology has been more than a casual player in this effort and others. And we have this morning with us the President and CEO of CCAT, Elliot Ginsberg. Elliot.
There are a lot behind me, so I will try to be brief. There's that saying, good things come to those sometimes who have to wait. And let me just tell you that this is a great thing that's happening today. And though some of us have had to wait a little longer than we would have liked, it has been well worth waiting in terms of what's happening. We are very thrilled, proud to be a partner in this program, the immediate program and the future programs with Goodwin College. We have a relationship that we have built over many years, and frankly, that relationship continues to grow each and every day, and so we're thrilled. Partnerships are needed. We have some expertise that frankly we've been willing to share in helping to design and assist in the curriculum development, but also in terms of the execution of some of these programs in the future, and we're thrilled and delighted to move forward on that. That doesn't come without, as Mark said, leadership, and he recognized the governor's leadership, and I certainly would be remiss if I did not recognize my former boss, the congressman's leadership, because this, as I said, a vision that he had and I happen to be part of over the years to make happen, and it's come to fruition because of then the leadership of someone like Mark Scheinberg here at Goodwin College, and his whole staff, and my whole staff, and the congressman's whole staff, and government's whole staff. It takes all of us to make this happen. We should all be very proud, I think, of what's going on here. We talk about public-private partnerships, and frankly, we have to depend on that. The video talked about sort of creating curriculum and programs to the industry. Well, that's true. I didn't want to leave out, because I'm just looking out in terms of the IAM. I've had the fortunate experience to work with the IAM in Washington, and someone who's here today. I've also had the experience to work with folks who are here locally. John Hardy and I head up on the Governor's Council for Employment and Training, the manufacturing subgroup, and frankly, I could not think of a person I'd much rather work with than John. Everett and Michael and everybody from the union have been friends for a while, and collectively, their input into this has made this happen as well. People have listened to each of us as we've met at tables to talk about it. I think what we have created and what the college has created is an opportunity that's probably most important to everyone, and that is the workforce. So what's going on here creates the idea of lifelong learning. The congressman in that video talked about credentials. Policymakers have decided that credentials are important, and this school has taken the leadership in making sure that those who have education have a credential. Our part is going to help them make sure that we can improve the quality of the learning here that goes on at Goodwin College. We're thrilled and delighted to do that. We stand ready to help in any way, as I think Mark knows, and I just couldn't be more proud of today for a lot of reasons, but particularly because some of us, like myself, have waited for this to happen, and it couldn't have come soon enough. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Elliot. Another early collaborator and one of the visionaries, along with the congressman, is Rich Mahalski from the IAM in D.C., I believe the general vice president, and I'd ask him to come forward now. Rich.
Thank you. Well, John Larson, thank you for your leadership and your vision. And I don't know if everybody knows the story here, but John and I have been talking about this, as he's been talking about this idea for a long, long time. And one day we bumped into each other in Washington, D.C., and, you know, again, we had that conversation. And then the next day I got a phone call from John, and he said, we're going to have a meeting, and it's going to be in Washington. And he invited Mark and his whole team, and Elliot, and UTC, Rick Waters, and we all sat around the table in his office and talked about this concept of bringing things together and making Connecticut competitive in the world market. And how do we protect jobs? And that's where it came from. And in that conversation, you know, we all were very, very optimistic, but there was nobody more optimistic and had the energy than Mark Scheinberg and his whole team of Cliff and Todd. You know, we talked about all the obstacles and everything else, and it was Mark who said, let's just do it. Let's just get it done. It's a big deal. That's leadership. We're fortunate here in Connecticut to do one thing. We have a nucleus of skills to work from. It's about protecting our legacy here and our heritage. It's a big deal. You know, we're not talking about, we're talking about perpetual learning here. And, you know, just like the medical professions, where people get recertified and they get better and better, well, we're talking about applying that same thing, perpetual learning, to the manufacturing environment and machining environments. And you just have to picture where we're going to be with this 5 years from now, how competitive we'll be 5 years from now. Every day, doing it a better way in both product and process. That's what our employers want, and we're going to deliver that. These programs are a win-win for everyone in this room, in the community, and Connecticut. In the future, and this is what we should really be keeping our eye on, in the future, when employers say, should I be here or shouldn't I be here in Connecticut, that answer is going to be a loud and resounding, I want to be in Connecticut, because we have the best, the most efficient, the most quality conscious workers in the country. That's our goal. I know our team has been mentioned many, many times. They've been working both with UTC and Electric Boat, and we're going to work with all the supplier bases too. We're going to make this work. This is, it's not about reinventing the wheel, because there's training programs everywhere. This is about polishing the diamond. The diamond is Connecticut. The diamond are the citizens of Connecticut. And we want to be associated with that. I think we're going to be able to be successful. The IAM is very proud to be a proud partner in this association. And we're going to make this win. Right? Right. Thank you.
Hey, Rich, don't go too far. Can I ask President Scheinberg and Congressman Larson to come forward for a special award?
Sure.
in the middle of this process, Rich Michalski, who had done so much to help us out, decided it was time to retire. And so he's coming up upon that time. And I think, that's a good thing, because I think there's an extra sense of you got to get something done because you see the clock on the wall. And but we didn't want to have him just leave without some recognition. And so it's my pleasure as the college to create a Richard Michalski Scholarship in the first class that will give one deserving student a free training program.
Rich, while several will continue to recognize your efforts not only on behalf of machinists all across this country, but about working America and manufacturers in general. So I'm proud on behalf of the United States Congress, I'm sure of what will be many tributes back in Washington, but you don't often get the opportunity when you're here before the home crowd to say thank you for your great contribution, and congratulations for all that you have done. Well, thank you.
John's turn, right? This is from John, right?
No, we got that.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you. You heard how this manufacturing program came together in Washington. A bunch of very intelligent and good-looking people got together and decided, let's get it done. And I think I heard Mark Scheinberg say, let's get it done. The guy that I'm going to introduce next is the one who had to go get it done. And he looks remarkably well. I asked Cliff, how's he doing? He's been at it for a year. We've got the first class launched. Everything looks good. He said, Gary, not a problem at all. He said, I'm sleeping like a baby. I wake up every 2 hours and I cry. The lead of the manufacturing program, Dr. Cliff Thurmer here at Goodwin.
Good morning. Just a little background about what we're doing on the Get It Done side of the house, I guess, right now. This initiative is really informed by hundreds of hours of talking with our industry stakeholders, and many of whom are with us this morning. Also industry reports and analytics from sources like Connecticut Business and Industry Association, American Association of Training and Development, the McGladrey Monitor, the McGraw-Hill Research Foundation, the Connecticut College of Technology, and our collaboration with companies like Amatrol, the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, Capital Workforce Partners, and of course the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council, and most importantly from our 9-member manufacturing team, many of whom are also here today, who collectively have over 250 years of manufacturing experience. You guys are absolutely amazing, and we couldn't have gotten this far without all of your input. So I want to thank you for your efforts and what you've done this week until next week. Our goal is to provide the manufacturing sector workforce with a credentialed group of people who not only demonstrate the requisite skills, but practice the desired soft skills that are required in any organization. These are things like teamwork, problem solving, effective communication, and workers who see the whole picture of the manufacturing process beyond their individual task. Now, it's our desire to join the team that's already participating in the development of the workforce to ensure that Connecticut has the necessary skilled, educated, and credentialed professionals who are going to strengthen our manufacturing sector, which provides necessary and, more importantly, significant jobs for our communities. Now, working with our industry partners, we expect to advance our skill set offerings to meet their needs, and the workers who have portable, stackable credentials and who earned them through the classroom work, through computer simulations, hands-on experiences with knowledgeable and credentialed faculty as well. The credentialing of this workforce informs the hiring company of the expected level of competencies that these people have achieved. Now, we believe that this is critical in developing a competent workforce in Connecticut. For the worker, it's important. For the company who hires them, it's important. To the state's labor pool, it's important. And in general, it adds value to the human capital that's so necessary to make each of our businesses successful. We also believe that a state with a credentialed workforce is in a better position to attract new business while retaining existing ones. We intend to focus not only on credentialing the incumbent workforce, but to prepare new workers to enter this sector, providing them with the basic knowledge and skills and the opportunity to further their education at the associate and baccalaureate levels. This month, we started our first cohort of 17 incumbent workers who are not only earning college credit, but they're also working toward their credentials as certified production technicians, a credential granted by the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council. Also this summer, we will introduce recent high school graduates to careers in manufacturing through our Summer Bridge program, where participants will enroll in our Key Principles of Manufacturing course, which will afford them the opportunity to not only visit some of our manufacturing partners, but also earn the MSSC credential in safety and quality practices and measurement, as well as college credit. And in the fall, a number of our Connecticut River Academy students who are eligible for dual enrollment in college-level courses have opted to explore careers in manufacturing, and they will begin the Key Principles of Manufacturing course, as well as earning both high school and college credit. And I think that is a real exciting trend, that young people are seeing manufacturing as a possibility and are seeing how cool it really is to make stuff. As I think back over the past 15 months or so of my involvement with this initiative, it's quite remarkable how a few dedicated people can take an inspired idea, a truly inspired idea, and bring it to this point in a very short period of time. And so it's my thanks to Congressman Larson and to President Sheinberg, not only for sharing this vision and charging us with the opportunity to create something special here, but for your steadfast support and in believing what can be done. And we've only just begun. Thank you.
It seems only appropriate that the person who started this ball rolling should be the last person to speak today. Congressman Larson is a very old friend of this college. 30 years ago, when we were a small business school on Burnside Avenue, we happened to be located kitty corner across the street from a insurance company that was run by Congressman John Larson. You're not going to find anybody so locally inspired. And what's interesting about the community in East Hartford isn't that John has done such an awesome job in his life and has gone to such awesome places. But what's really impressive is that there's never any doubt when people speak to him that he's from here, that he gets what it is that he grew up with, that he understands what this is all about. This is not heavy lifting and learning for someone trying to figure out what it is to make things right in a manufacturing community. So John has been a godfather to this institution. He's been a godfather to this program. He's been a trusted and dear friend, and I can't give any more accolades but to say that it's my great pleasure to introduce Congressman John Larson.
Thank you very much, Mark, and thank you for your incredible vision and the work effort that goes on here at Goodwin on a daily basis. And Cliff, sincerely thank you for making this all happen. I'm particularly honored as well, and I know Senator LeBeau was here, and I guess Jason Rojas, but I'm particularly honored. Our mayor was down in Washington, D.C. just the other day, and you talk about visionaries and hard workers and somebody who understands her community. Nobody better than Marcia LeClaire, and I'm grateful that she's here this morning as well. And so many who have turned out. Rich was far more modest than I think he should be, and we have collaborated on many issues, this being the most recent. But I remember when manufacturing wasn't in vogue, And he and I did a little public announcement about that maybe 12, 13 years ago. Manufacturing is part of Connecticut's DNA. It's part of the country's DNA. It makes us the great innovators that we are. It makes us the world leader that we are. And having grown up in a community who went from what Mark Twain described in a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court as podunk, to having then United Aircraft locate on a former tobacco field owned by the Brewers, and the rest has been a remarkable history. Imagine that both Pratt and Whitney were interns and apprentices at Colt Manufacturing right across the river, so that when we say this is part of our DNA, when we say this is who we are as manufacturers, that in fact is true. My dad worked at Pratt & Whitney Aircraft for 37 years, and many of you in this room have heard me tell this story several times, and I'll repeat it as often as I get the opportunity. And when he'd be on his way to work, we'd ask him, "Dad, what are you doing?" He'd say, "Got to keep the eagle flying." And as you know, the logo of Pratt & Whitney is this eagle, expansive eagle flying, and underneath it, the dependable engines. That's what he was referring to. But keeping the eagle flying has become a metaphor for the need for manufacturing in a nation and a community to soar. And how do you make that happen? And God only knows. There's a lot of good efforts going around, side by each, everywhere in the country, but you need to bring this collaboration together in a focused manner. Used to be a slogan that they would also have that my dad gave me a photo of. It's an American eagle, and it was just staring directly ahead. And it said under that eagle, "Without vision, there can be no victory." Pratt & Whitney engines. Mark Scheinberg epitomizes, without vision, there can be no victory. You can have all the good ideas in the world, but if you don't have someone who can implement them, you can have the greatest designs in the world, but if you don't have the highly skilled, highly trained machinists to execute that plan, it doesn't happen. And so collaboration is much a part of our DNA, as is manufacturing. And the heartening thing for me is that when you're able to bring in academia with great vision, when you have industries like United Technologies and Pratt & Whitney and General Dynamics and Electric Boat, and you have a workforce. I've often said, and you look at these, what I think are works of art that our machinists put together. It is remarkable. I've said to the Athenaeum on more than one occasion, I think we should have a display of art that duly gives credit to precision manufacturing and all that entails and what it is going to become. As you heard both the governor and as you heard Rich and as you heard Mark and Elliot talk about. It's this collaboration that I know is going to take us forward and leave the kind of legacy, a legacy that will create the jobs and continue to have the United States of America to be the preeminent military, cultural, economic and manufacturer and innovator of the world. Last, I want to give a special acknowledgement to United Technologies. This past year, they surpassed the $1 billion mark. $1 billion that they have given to their employees to pursue any subject matter that they choose and provide them. Pretty good, right? Provide them with the books and the time off to study. Without vision, there can be no victory. I also want to acknowledge, for so many years, people here locally who are not the academicians, who are not the leaders, the vice presidents of the International Machinists Organization, they were actually the workforce here. They are the men and women that I'd see at Augie and Ray's. They are the John Herities and the Everett Coreys and the Mike Stones. And these are people who got up and go to work every single day. The enormous pride that they take in their craft is exactly why, as Mark has pointed out, and Cliff, that it's going to be a cool thing to be in manufacturing. It's going to be a cool thing to be one of the innovators. It's going to be a cool thing always to keep the eagle flying, not only here in East Hartford and Connecticut, but across this great nation of ours and around the world. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless America. Thank all of you for everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the conference this morning. Sincere thanks for all of you for attending. Our speakers will stick around if any of the media wants to have a Q&A. And finally, on behalf of Goodwin College, may I wish you a happy, healthy, and safe Memorial Day weekend. Thanks very much. Sorry, big oversight. Dan Larson, who runs all of Goodwin College, is in the back. He made sure all this happened. He prepared the video, parked the cars. Danny Larson, thank you all for being here.